So for my Zoom, I wasn't able to record just because I'm using the browser-based version. So I thought I would just go over some of the information shared so that if you are not able to attend, you can still benefit. So the session is about helping students set exciting goals for their personal project. So one of the things that, five of the things that I think will help students have an exciting goal is if they have a meaningful connection to others, and that can be done through the global context. Now, I just did a session on Tuesday all about the global context. It's also on the website. The presentation is there too. Having an impact, so maybe service as an action element, personally challenging for the student, and when they come to write the report, they cannot get a 5, 6, 7, or 8 on strand 1 unless they talk about why the goal is challenging to them. So they must have that. And then have an audience beyond the supervisor and exhibition attendees, and then also have life outside of the school and beyond the personal project. So what I mean by that is that yes, they have a deadline for their product or outcome, they have a deadline for their report. It doesn't mean that they can't keep working that product or outcome afterwards. So say for example they make an app, they don't have to just after the personal project delete it, right? They can continue doing it, and it might be something that helps them to get into college or get into an internship or even to go into a summer program. So I've seen lots of examples of that happen before. I also could put here as well, and actually I might do meet are possibly linked to career aspirations. And this is really important because one of the things that sets IB students aside from students who went to schools like me is that they have all these extra clubs. We have CAS, we have services action, we have personal project, we have extended essay. These things are going to help students to know what they want to do. So if they think, I want to be a doctor, and they actually do a personal project or something related to medicine, they're like, actually, I don't want to be a doctor, this sounds nice, they'll realise. But also, if they do link it and they realise, yes, this is what I want to do, this is going to help them in the university applications, especially if they're applying for somewhere like in England where you do a personal statement. So the next thing, I didn't show this video to attendees, but you're welcome to have a look. This is a fantastic video called Lucky Iron Fish, and it's not about a personal project student, it's about a fully grown adult. I think he is either doing a PhD or he already is a doctor, and he decides he wants to go to Cambodia where there's very, very high amounts of anemia. So people do not have enough iron in their blood. I think iron in your blood, it helps the red blood cells carry oxygen around, so it can make you very lethargic if you're anemic. And so he wants to look at a cure. So the first thing he looks at is, okay, I've read that you can cook in iron pots and that will help you get iron into your food. And he realises the people, as you can see here, are carrying these big pots around. Some of them are cooking big meals. So having an iron pot is going to be incredibly heavy. It will not be used. He then finds out that you can actually just put a lump of iron into your food, and as you're cooking, the iron will be absorbed into the food. So this is his first product or outcome that he does. He gives this to people and he realizes that people are not using them. They don't really trust them. They're using them for, like, I don't know, to prop open a door. And so he then goes and researches more into the culture. And so he thinks, okay, what can we find out about Cambodian traditions, values, etc., and beliefs? And he finds out that fish are a symbol of luck in the culture. So he then makes these metal fish out of iron and he gives those to people, and suddenly people are cooking with them. It reduces the anemia rates, and it's very, very successful. So this is a great video to show. You can discuss the learning goal versus the product or outcome. Like if you said, like he would never say at the beginning, I want to make a metal fish. He said at the beginning, I want to learn about reducing anemia in this community. You could talk about what global context could be linked. Is it scientific and technical innovation because he's looking at ways to cure anemia? Is it identities and relationships because he used the fish to have people use it? What could it be? You can also talk about the service as action element, the challenge, the audience, and the impact. So I really recommend showing this video at the beginning of any personal project. So now I also have rules to inspire. So show the students examples of inspirational projects, and not just personal projects, because students will come into this and they'll say, okay, I'm going to do a cookbook, because I saw that in the last year's exhibition. They'll think about what is a personal project, not what is a passion project or what is something I want to do. They think about what is a MYP personal project. So I've been personal project coordinator now in 3 schools. In my second school, the way I got the position was I did a presentation to grade 9s and I showed them all these amazing inventions. So one of them, for example, was a glove that you use it, and when you speak in sign language, it translates for people who don't speak in sign language. Another one was this attachment that you can add to the tailpipe of a car, and it has algae and other stuff in it, and it helps reduce carbon emissions. So I showed them these projects, and I asked the students, what do these people have in common? And being the good IB students that they are, they said, they're risk takers, they're inquirers, they're thinkers. They went through a few different things, and they're looking a bit disheartened, and eventually said, okay, the actual thing is, all these inventors are under 14. And so that kind of inspired them. They said, okay, I can actually do something meaningful and powerful. If students start getting to think about, okay, what makes you really angry? Or what are you really passionate about? And sometimes because they're so locked into the idea of what is a personal project, they say, okay, I'm going to do a cookbook. But they're not really passionate about cookbooks. They're really passionate about anime. Or they're really passionate about I don't know, hanging out with their granny. It could be anything. Students also should know that they don't have to be 100% successful. If their project fails, that you said they want to learn, they want to put on a concert and have 1,000 people come, and they put on a short concert of acoustic music in the park and 5 people come. That's fine as long as they can evaluate why that happened. They should still go big. So I always show this image. So your comfort zone, and then where the magic happens. So I think this is really, really good to show them. I also had these activities. These are all from Project Zero, which is a Harvard School of Education. These are all activities that they can do to kind of come up with lots and lots of ideas. Then lastly, at the end, I have IDEO's brainstorming rules, which you've seen over here. Now, my favourite one for this is go for quantity over quality. So when you're first coming up with your ideas, write down 100 different ideas. Doesn't matter if they're crap, doesn't matter if 5 of them are really similar. Just get as many as you can onto paper, because you might have a really crappy idea, but it might inspire a better idea. Or you might write down 100 ideas, and you might connect 3 of those ideas together, and it comes up with something wonderful. When you're doing it, defer judgment. So don't think about, is it a crappy idea? Is it realistic? Is it manageable? Encourage wild ideas to go big. So for example, if you're thinking about moonshot thinking, one day someone's like, oh, I think we should travel to the moon. Like, that was crazy, but it happened, right? Building the ideas of others, so it doesn't have to be 100% original. They can take, an idea that their favorite YouTuber had, or they can take a product that they love and they can make it bigger, better. They can change it slightly. Stay focused on the topic. So this one isn't so relevant. This is more like when you're in a work team and you're kind of talking about tea and coffee the weekend. If a student's doing individual brainstorming, that shouldn't really matter. One conversation at a time. So when you're thinking about each of those ideas and expanding on them, don't just at the end of this look at your 100 ideas and just pick one. Go through each one and think about, how could this be awesome? Okay. And then lastly, I have all these different resources to inspire. So at the beginning of the personal project, I usually do a session where I will talk about global context for an hour, and then I also talk about different ideas, and I get them to start thinking. What sometimes students do is they lock into the idea of, I am going to make a thing. I'm going to make a cookbook. And then halfway through the project, they're like, oh, I don't want to make a cookbook, I want to make it into a website. And they freak out. They say, oh my God, I'm changing my project. Is it too late? I'm like, actually, no, your project is about learning to cook your granny's cooking. Cookbook is just the product, the outcome at the end. So that's another thing I try and get them to do, is lock into their learning goal. If you look in the global context, presentations is on Tuesday, which is also on my blog and also on the website. You can see a whole bunch of different ideas. I actually did an idea for a cookbook using each global context. That also shows how to help them set a good goal. Now, this is the school website that we have, and it's full of ideas. But what you'll see is, in finding inspiration, this is a short presentation I do with them in class, and it has some different goals in here. So I'll show you some of them. This is Food Flip, a student who made this kind of Uber-style app, which at the end of the day, companies like Whole Foods, and I think he also worked with some restaurants, they would say what food they had left over, and then Atlanta Food Bank would come and pick it up. This is really good. He got the Governor's Award and ended up going to Berry College for the summer, and now the student's at Georgia Tech. This student, they are, I think, half, their mum's from Mexico, their dad's from Mexico, living in America. They're quite wealthy. I think one of the parents is a doctor, but then she was thinking about, okay, there's many other people who are Mexican who are undocumented. And so she decided to convince doctors to do free mammograms for undocumented women. Just had many challenges. Doctors were reluctant because they didn't want to be sued if something went wrong, or they felt that they were not allowed to do these free mammograms. She convinced them. She also had to get these undocumented women to come. So how did they know it wasn't going to be a trick? Where would she have to advertise? She ended up advertising in like local churches on Buford Highway. She had to have her information available in Spanish. So this was a really powerful multi-level project. This student, she went and learned Japanese, and then she ended up getting an internship in the summer, or like a summer school in Japan. This student did a really powerful project, and the end product or outcome was not, it was a poster. There's a couple of posters. The product and outcome visually was not the most amazing thing. I think they were cool, but his product was all about learning about food deserts in Atlanta. So Atlanta has one of the highest rates of poverty and highest rates of wealth, and there's whole neighborhoods of food deserts, which means that you live X amount of distance away from fresh food. So you only have like fast food near you, or maybe a gas station. You don't really have like a grocery shop or a supermarket. And so he was looking about the impact of food deserts on communities. This was really, really powerful. I really loved speaking to the student about the process, and he is now at Harvard. This student made a multi-level game which had math, science, language and history levels, and it was available in Spanish and English, and he made this to support the children in the school next to ours who were from a lower socio-economic background. This was amazing because, yes, the actual technical skills of making the game were outstanding, but really what was important about this project was how many times he was testing it, getting kids to give him feedback, really working well with his clients. This student did a project called What is the American Dream? And she did these art classes for local refugee children and teenagers where they would do these amazing paintings. Now she ended up exhibiting the work in our school in an area there, and she invited all these families along. It was a very kind of posh art gallery exhibition, and also these artists came too. It was very powerful. She ended up getting interviewed on NPR radio. If you can hear, the link is on there. And then she ended up having this exhibition toured around libraries in Georgia. So this was another student. This was a trans student of ours who ended up really loving animation, and so he wanted to do an animation which was all about people who are not represented in animation. So he had a trans person, he had people of color, etc. He ended up getting an internship that summer in New York to do animation. This student was one of our EAL students. I'm not sure what phase, but she was in the EAL classes, and actually she did one of the most outstanding products and most outstanding reports as well. She ended up growing all of her own herbs. The house they're renting had this big kind of Victorian greenhouse in the garden, so she grew all these different herbs and documented that process. And then she also made her own tea, and the whole thing was to reduce stress. So at high times of stress, like when we were working on our grade 10 personal project reports, she would get big things of hot water and provide tea to everyone, and she was monitoring how it impacted stress. So on this page I actually have 100 different examples, so you can see more. If you want to learn anything about these, you can always email me and I'll give you some more information. I also have a bunch of links to help them here. Red Dot Design and James Dyson Design Awards are just amazing inspirational design products, which I really like. Google Science Fair, unfortunately I need to delete this because this page is gone now, but Google Art and Culture is amazing. I would have a little browse through this if you haven't seen these websites. This was an activity I originally did as icebreakers just for the beginning of the year, but I thought it was a way for students to really dig into their passions and see what might be a good personal project. And then I have a few more links to different charities. For example, Kiva. If you've not seen Kiva, Kiva is a micro-learning site, so you're not donating $25 or 25 euros, you are lending 25 euros, and you can lend it to people. You can choose the country you lend it to them in, you can choose the amount. So I think I've donated money to someone in Uganda who was needing money for to buy goats for their farm, and it's all different stuff here. So this is a really nice project which I think sometimes gives kids some inspiration. And then obviously we have the UN Global Goals. So most of my units in school link to a UN Global Goal. Sometimes students just look at these and like, okay, yeah, I actually do care about quality education, or yeah, what do you mean sustainable cities and communities? I think it's kind of a nice thing to get their ideas flowing. So going back over to this document, these were, yeah, you can see it cut off at 40 minutes. Some of the questions people had: how much role does a coordinator play in a student's goal setting, or is it entirely student's brainchild? My concern is with regards to safety and availability of resources. So firstly, availability of resources and safety. you know, a flashy project outcome is not the best personal project, right? Like I showed you that student who did the food deserts. He just made a post from the end on his computer, but all the learning that went into that is the most important thing. If your student wants to do something that's flashy and costs money and they need different resources, then they should put it into their action plan. They should do some fundraising. They should say how they're going to get this. It's not going to appear by magic, so that should be part of the process they document. So I do get students to do a proposal, and the proposal includes things like the goal, why I want to do goal, 3 facts linked to that topic with the MLA 8 citations, the global context and exactly why. It has a whole bunch of questions. But really, I'm just checking they've done some work. They haven't just gone, oh, I want to do a cookbook. They've actually thought about it, and then it's approved. If they want to do something that I'm like, I have no idea what that is, or why would they want to do that? It's none of my business. It should be driven by personal interest and passion. I do sessions with them at the beginning about global context, about setting a goal, but then it's up to them. You know, a supervisor in the first meeting like, oh, why do you want to do this? We had a session the other day about global context, and one of the teachers shared out this good idea where the kid tells you what they want to do and you keep saying why. So, I want to make a cookbook. Why? I want to learn how to cook. Why do you want to learn how to cook? Oh, because I don't know. Like, and if they don't know, then they have to start again. Okay, so just keep asking them why. That helps them actually realize it's something passionate that they're thinking about. And again, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't always make them drink, right? Next person said, I'm thinking about doing a mini exhibition midway through the project for students to get feedback and make adjustments. Does anyone else do this? So in my school, we have 3 grade 10 homerooms with about 22 kids or 20 kids in each one. And what we do, I think in December or November, is they do a mini presentation in front of their class. It's usually about a 3-minute presentation, 4-minute presentation, sharing their ideas, what they've done. If they're making something like food, they normally bring food in. It's quite nice that they can get some general feedback. The feedback isn't maybe always the most important part. It's giving them that actual deadline. They're like, oh crap, I've got to do something. So then they actually produce it, right? Otherwise, this personal project seems like this long thing, which is they can keep procrastinating on because it's not happening until X date. And giving them these deadlines really, really helps that. We also do a presentation, but it's the same day as exhibition. So what will happen is grades 6 to 9 or 6 to 10 are off timetable. First 2 periods, there'll be about 8 or 7 classrooms around the school, and the students will be doing 10-minute presentations in there with a 5-minute break between. So if you're grade 6, you might go to one room and watch a presentation about, I don't know, Sofubi Japanese toys. Then you have 5 minutes where you go to the next classroom and you go and see someone who's talking about screen printing. Then you go to the next one with someone talking about an app they've made, and so that happens for the first 2 periods. Period 3, we only have 4 periods in a day. Period 3, most kids go back to their classes. Grade 10 set up in their aula or the auditorium, and then the last period of the day it's the exhibition, and they come down. 6, 7 come down, and then 8, 9 come down. So we do have a presentation and an exhibition, and we had that mini presentation before, but maybe having a bigger exhibition or bigger project earlier on could help. Someone said I break the process down into mini deadlines, goal, criteria, action plan, product. I do exactly the same. So you're supposed to give them, the final first draft feedback on the final report feedback, right? And they give them only official feedback on that first draft. Now, some students will not work and do anything until then. So what I do is I had the deadlines, the proposal, they do a summer reflection, they have a source evaluation, they have an action plan, a whole bunch. And then when they come to write the report, I do a session about reports. Okay, you need evidence for each of these things. Oh, look, criteria A strand 1, you already did your proposal. Oh, look, criteria A strand 3, you already have your source evaluation. So it really prepares them because they've done these things throughout the year. And so when they come to write the report, it's not as difficult as it would be if they hadn't done those. Someone said, how many success criteria do we make? So it depends. Some of the examples coming out of the IB are kind of smaller, so it depends how you do it as well. Like if you're doing a few criteria, you might want to base it on the kind of NYP criteria, where you have a 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6, 7 to 8, and you're saying what you need to do to achieve each level. Or so a student has seen many examples of these, so it'd be good for them to base it on that. Or maybe they can base it on the specifications and success criteria they make in design. So for example, in my design class, we look at aesthetics, cost, customer, environment, size, which could also mean time, safety, function, and materials. And so they have to make specifications for each of those. And then they have to say how they would test each one. Now, somewhere where the students fall down is criterion B strand 1. It's about developing your criteria. Some students say, here's my criteria, and they show it. This part is about the link to the research in your criteria. Why is your video going to be 4 to 8 minutes long? Oh, because in your research you analysed music videos and you found this was the average time. Okay, cool. Why is your final product going to be blue? Oh, because you did a survey and students voted on this with a favourite colour. Each criteria needs to be based on research. They can't just say, yeah, I'm going to have my final dress is going to be made of cloth, of silk. Why? Right? Criterion B, strand 1. Why have they got those criteria? How did they develop them? So that's something they should focus on more than anything. Does the product necessarily have to be contributing to society, or can it be something that revolves around the student's interests, personal goals as well? So it should be driven by your personal interest and your personal goal, but I think having that extra element helps the goal to be more challenging, which again is going to help you get a higher grade in criterion A, and it makes it more meaningful to the student. Now, so they want to do something like, I want to learn guitar. Great. Why not learn guitar and then do a little concert where just for your homeroom, where you get €1 for each person who comes and you donate it to a charity? Or why not learn guitar and then teach someone else the song that you learned? Or why not, yeah? So you can have that extra element. That also gives the goal an extra layer and makes it more challenging. Now, there were some other questions that came up just in the Zoom chat. One of them is about how we support EAL students. So, we should only be giving one layer of official feedback on the draft, and then they should do the final report. But we are supporting our kids throughout the year. We're supporting them in our supervisor sessions. We're supporting them in other ways. The same way that you might give formal feedback on one draft in an English class, but you're doing Kahoots and you're doing face-to-face feedback and you're doing peer assessment and you're doing all these other things that help the student. Now, when I come to set supervisors, I don't do what some schools do, which is send out a list of all topics and get people to sign up. I do use that as one of the ways, but then I also will look at students who have problems turning in work on time. So they will have a stricter teacher, or they'll have a teacher that they see regularly, maybe their homeroom teacher or their maths teacher, and they see often anyway. If it's a really independent student who doesn't need that much support, I might give them a teacher they don't know who's new to the school. If it's an EAL student, I might give them their EAL teacher. Now, also, I know that in our EAL class, when we're writing the reports, they also spend some time in class on the reports, giving that sort of feedback that, oh, this is what you should be writing for this strand, or, oh, you should have some more evidence here. That's kind of informal feedback, which is totally allowed. It's just more that formal, kind of written, very highly detailed feedback that you shouldn't be doing more than one time. So hopefully that helps. I did also share a couple of other things. This is really cool. Protobot just gives you cool ideas for things that you can make. It's just mixing two things. And then I also, let me see if I can find it by searching in. One other thing I showed, which is something that I've been working on, this is the Padlet from the other day, was a document. Maybe I even already put it in here. Yes, I'm making a document for my students which combines stuff from the guide and combines stuff from further guidance. If you haven't looked at the further guidance document on my IB, it's incredible. And it has every single strand. In this strand, it tells them what a 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6 or 7 to 8 looks like. One side it has the descriptor, and the other side it has the task-specific clarification. Gives them the command terms. It tells them what kind of things they should be doing in their process journal, and it gives them reflection questions. So this is something that they fill in as they go. When they come to write the report, they put their information in the pink boxes. They can literally take this part from the pink box and then use one of these things as an appendix. So for example, I have here for criterion A strand 1, which is about setting your goal, thinking about global context, etc. You have to do your personal project proposal, but you might also do these things. Then I have questions that will help them when they come to write the report. I have this for every single one. So it's not complete. If you want to, you can see not complete yet. Please add some comments and help me make this better. Hopefully that answers all the questions relating to kind of setting clear and exciting goals for our students. Sorry that I didn't record the live session, and I'm sorry if you're the person that it cut off when the time ran out. If you have any more questions, drop them in the comments.